right, should be live. All right, let's see if we got some people in here yet. Yes, sir. 5-0, go Steelers. Of course, hope Devin Bush is okay. We're gonna get into that. Just waiting to see if a couple more people pop in here. I want to get some of you guys in here. Ryan, what's going on? How we feeling? How we feeling? Obviously, when you win by 31 points, I'm assuming everybody's feeling pretty good. But wait and see what happens. I got the Titans-Texans game up now. And that's ball game. No, maybe. Man. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I don't know how many people are in here right now. If like somewhere between 3 to 5 of you, I want to have join me and just talk about whatever you want to talk about in regards to the Steelers, whether it be this game in particular or just Steeler football in general. So if you are here, I'm assuming you also follow us on Twitter. So shoot us a DM real quick at around the 412 and tell me you want to join, and I will send you the code and I will keep you in the waiting room until it's your turn to join, which go based off like first come, first serve. So again, just send us a DM at around the 412. Say that you want to join the post game show, and I will send you the information and put you in the waiting room. All in on the Chase train. Yeah, apparently he doesn't like Mapletron as much as the fan base does, huh? I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I get it though. Derrick Henry is ridiculous, man. How do I feel about going into Tennessee next week? Um, well, we're gonna see if both teams remain undefeated here, depending on what happens in this how this Titans Texans game finishes. It's in overtime right now. Titans are inside the 10. I mean, they're a very good football team, very similar to Cleveland, though they operate through the ground. I think that Ryan Tannehill is a little bit more capable than Baker Mayfield, though, when you do make him pass. But they feed off the run game and the play action. And Tannehill is at his best off the play action. So I think it's going to be another game of strength versus strength. Um, I think that the big question for me is going to be, Devin Bush. I'm remaining optimistic a little bit due to the fact they didn't rule him out right away and he was questionable. But I mean, that's going to be a huge loss. Granted, Robert Spillane did come in and play pretty well in his absence. I'm just not sure what he offers long term in terms of, especially in the pass coverage. He's a very good special teams player, but it'll be interesting to see how he takes on that role should he have to actually play it long term. Oh, this is interesting. I don't know if anybody else watching this game. Derrick Henry's running like Wildcat right now, and Tennessee just won. Okay, so we are going to go into Tennessee next week, both undefeated. I don't know if anybody was watching this before. Houston actually went for 2 to try to end this game instead of kicking the extra point. And that is why Tennessee didn't have to go for 2 after scoring. You wonder how this game could have played out differently had Houston done that. All right, yeah, I'm gonna get somebody in here. My friend Sarge just was the first one that got. Had somebody else hit me up as well. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe like at the most 5 people we can get in here. It's gonna be one at a time though, obviously. If it's not the right game, we'll be fine. Bud had his foot stepped on late, so hoping he is okay too. Oh, I missed that. I missed whatever happened with Bud. Kind of the same thing too late in the game with Pouncey, who was dealing with an ankle injury coming in. So, he left the game a little bit early. You feel like hopefully that was a precaution just due to the score being out of reach, just letting him get the rest for the rest of the game. But yeah, these are going to be definitely things to monitor. You feel really good about being 5-0, but those are the types of things that you just, you have to monitor during the week and hopefully we get these guys back. So. Oh, wow. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
City.
Hello?
I can hear you now. Is that a victory cigar?
It's a victory cigar, my friend.
All right. So, like I said, I'm going to get like 3 to 5 different people in here. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. Oh, is everybody smoking a victory cigar?
Me, Stubbs, and Stefan do now.
I love it. All right. So, what do you want to talk about specifically when it comes to this game?
I just want to call and say hello. No, Baker Mayfield looked like poop.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what I was saying coming into the game was if you shut down the run and put him in a position where he has to throw the ball, I really like the Steelers' chances. Came into this game with the banged up ribs and chest, obviously, and I knew that with our pass rush, if we get after him, hit him a couple times, I do not like his chances of, first off, making it through this game, which he did not. Probably due to the score a little bit as well, taking him out for mainly precaution, but I don't know that he would have survived 4 quarters against this defense. But yeah, he did not look very good.
Should have had 3 picks.
What's that?
Should have had 3 picks, but no one knows what pass interference is anymore.
That was illegal contact.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was such garbage.
Whatever it was.
Oh, such
Yeah,
garbage.
the illegal contact by Joe Hayden down the field on that one.
Shaming me?
But no, I mean,
Don't get into
also,
a
I think you
pattern.
got to be feeling pretty good going into this game against Tennessee, which they also won. So both teams will be 5-0. The last two undefeated teams in the AFC. I think that the big thing. Hello, Jenny.
Dusty with sweetheart.
I think that the big thing is just going to be the health of Devin Bush. I think that's what people are going to be monitoring all week. Obviously, hoping Pounce is okay as well. He left the game early. And then
He did?
Hey,
Deontay Johnson.
Relax a little bit, huh? I am. I'm relaxed. She's not relaxed.
I'm having
That one dude, who's that middle linebacker that subbed in? He looked pretty good.
Robert Spillane. Yeah, somebody actually brought him up talking about him. Yeah, he did look very good. I just wonder what usually a special teams guy steps in a little bit. I wonder how he will do though, with a full week of preparation, knowing he is the starter and being put in that role. I question the pass coverage more than anything else in the middle linebacker position. And if Terrell Edmonds was, as good as we would hope at the safety position against tight ends and running backs out of the backfield, I think it'd be less of a concern for me. But yeah, you hope that, hey, if this is a sign of things that come for Robert Spillane, they're going to be fine. But I still, obviously would love to have Devin Bush.
So why wasn't so Highsmith? He's like an outside guy, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Who, hey, he looked very good on special teams today.
He did. He had a penalty against him though, right?
Yeah, it was a legal formation. I guess
Yeah.
he wasn't lined up close enough to the line of scrimmage for like the tackle position on the punt. So,
What did you think of the game?
I mean, it's hard to complain about everything. The only thing that dampened the mood a little bit again was the Devin Bush injury. Other than that, it was a very, relaxing game to watch. It got out of hand pretty quick. And at that point, you can kind of just sit back and make fun of the Browns fans that thought that this was going to be like their year, their game. They've been waiting so long for this. For them, it was like a Super Bowl. For the Steelers, it was week 6. So
Yeah.
the one thing that I question coming into this week is, could the Steelers match that intensity, because the Browns were making it out to be such a big game. And they obviously answered the bell there and were able to match the intensity and the desperation and really get after it. So I think in all three facets, I'm pretty pleased. Again, one of the biggest things for me just remains the punting game. Dustin Colquitt has been terrible. Like, people were clamoring for Jordan Berry to get out of here, and I had no problem with that. But his replacement has come in and been even worse.
Yeah. Well, me and Subs were saying, like, it's crazy that Ben can throw for, like, I don't know how many completions there, but he threw for like 160 yards and a touchdown, but he still looked dominant somehow. It's like he has 1 turnover this year in 5 games now. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah, I think that that's what we were talking about, is just being able to protect the ball. And they did it again today. Again, Ben still just the 1 interception on the year. There were a couple that I feel like he kind of got away with early on in this game, running that RPO through it, and it was kind of like right at a guy. He started off the game pretty shaky. He started out 2 of 8. From that point on, kind of found his footing, let the run game open up the pass, and was good from there on out. But that's the biggest thing is, I was talking about, like, I don't know why Ben's not getting credit for changing the way that he plays to still make this offense able to put up 30+ points, even though he's not taking as many deep shots as we've seen.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny that people were like, oh, Ben can't throw the ball downfield. And he had that one to James Washington and that one to Claypool. And those balls were perfect.
The deep balls. Well, first off, the vintage pump fake on the James Washington touchdown. I mean, we've seen that so many times that I feel like that just kind of goes underappreciated at this point. The deep ball to Chase Claypool, who, I can't say enough good things about. That's what I was saying before. It's like, I feel like it's not that he can't throw the deep ball. It's just that it hasn't been there yet. Like, I don't question the arm strength. I think that he's overthrowing guys right now, to be honest with you, not underthrowing them, which is just a sign that, like, the touch isn't there yet, and he's still a little rusty.
What I love about this team is not one receiving, like, wide receiver is complaining about not getting the ball. Like, everyone is just happy that they're winning. Like, like you said, it's a new guy every week, and no one has a problem with it. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, I think
it's a very selfless team, which we're not used to.
Yeah, the streak was finally broken because Claypool ended up passing Washington in receiving yards for this game on his last reception. But had Washington was leading this for most of this game in receiving yards, and had he finished as the as the leader for this game, they would have had a different guy in all 5 of their games lead the team in receiving. So that's the thing is, from a fantasy standpoint, kind of stinks because you never know who the guy's going to be, who the number 1 is going to be that week. But from a real life perspective, it keeps defenses honest. They never know who they have to key in on. It could be one of 6 different guys that lead the team in receiving. So from that standpoint, you got to love it. And it's been very fun to watch. It's an efficient offense more than anything else. And all things are over now.
I had to play the Steelers D in both leagues today.
Oh,
not great.
Not great.
Wait, here's Stubbs.
I can't. As soon as the costume test or whatever.
I guess this is like a second guess, huh?
I was on Amazon and I was
I said, I guess this counts as like guess number 2.
Yeah. What are we talking about here? Minka Fitzpatrick?
Kind of already. No, he hasn't been brought up yet, so I guess that's a good thing to talk about. Yes, I do remember a certain friend of ours that has a show, did a little show with a Browns fan, and they said that they wanted to expose Minka Fitzpatrick. However, their first drive of the game, Minka Fitzpatrick exposes them.
Yeah.
The house call for 6 points. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while.
Is this live on YouTube?
Yes, it is.
Around the
plays really weren't there, but in coverage, teams were 0 for 4 targeting him. He was only thrown to 4 times.
Yeah.
So it's not like the guy was playing bad. There were some tackling issues, and I think that everybody can accept that and admit to that. However, in coverage, he had still been the same phenomenal player, and finally this week we get that splash.
Yeah. I think our defense played like they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is people have been calling for this defense to step up and finally get back to the 2019 form because although they were getting after the quarterback a ton, leading the league in sacks, there were some questions about the secondary. They weren't playing that well the first 4 games, and I think that a lot of those issues, at least for 1 week, looked like they were subsided and they looked like the 2019 version of themselves. So very, very encouraging going forward if they have that part of their game.
Yeah, I guess I just a little bit.
And that Spillane guy.
Robert
like
Spillane.
He did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, to step in for Devin Bush, I mean, that's a pretty tall task, and that could be, I don't want to speculate on what Devin Bush's injury could be, but if it is a long-term thing, you have to wonder if it will just be Spillane, if we could see Marcus Allen a little bit in that role, or Ulysses Gilbert. I don't know who it's going to be, but at least for today, Robert Spillane was very good. At least what they were asking him to do. If they asked him to start covering some tight ends and running backs out of the backfield, and especially games are close, today's game obviously got out of hand. You wonder how good he can be in that role, but so far so good.
And I had so much to say, and I forgot all of them because I'm so happy that we won. No, I just can't think now. Now that I'm actually talking to him.
Show him the sponsor real quick.
So I'm gonna share some cigar wisdom with you here.
But Big Ben not turning the ball over again today. That's another big thing.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a big thing going
190 yards?
What's that?
He had 190 yards?
162. He only had 14 completions.
Yeah, and we still won by 31 points.
But they run for 100 times for the 3rd time in 5 games. Have a running back run for the 4th time in 5 games. Benny Snell did it in game 1. So James Conner, I mean, I don't know if he's just pissed off. Pete keeps hearing about Le'Veon Bell and how the team should have gotten Leonard Fournette. But James Conner has 3 100-yard games already this year. I mean, this offense is just completely different, but they're still efficient as ever.
Who do we have next week?
Tennessee, both 5-0. So
that's our first big. I already said that the Browns is our first real test, but we kind of just punch them in the mouth. So
well, see, that's the thing is I feel like how Browns fans felt about this game coming into it, like this was going to be a test for them. I feel like that's how I was looking at the Tennessee game. I mean, the Browns fans were looking at this like their Super Bowl, and I was looking at it as week 6.
But it kind of feels like the Titans' offense is very similar to how the Browns.
It is, yeah.
They
that's what I'm saying.
And then do the play action. So it might look the same. Their defense isn't all that great.
That's what I was saying to Sarge is they need the run game to be going in order to be effective on offense. So if you were able to shut down the run game and make them pass, I mean, Ryan Tannehill's better than Baker Mayfield, but they operate mainly through the RPOs, through the play action. That's where Ryan Tannehill's at his best. If you shut down the run and make him have to actually throw from the pocket, I like the Steelers' chances again next week. again, big thing for me is just going to be we got to wait and see what's going on with Devin Bush, and obviously some other guys banged up as well. But
it's not an ACL. Do we know that, or we know nothing yet?
So I actually just got a thing. However, Steelers believe Bush suffered significant knee injury in Sunday's win over the Browns, according to Coach Mike Tomlin in his post-game press conference. So I don't know, what the range there is for significant, but I don't think he's going to play against Tennessee.
Yeah, it looked like an MCL.
I will say the only reason I was a little bit optimistic about it is because he wasn't rolled out right away. It was questionable.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, we've seen guys walk off having ACL injuries and everything like that, but it looked like it was progressively like he was working it out, stretching it out, and able to walk a little bit better when he actually went to the tunnel. So.
All right. Well, I'll let you get someone else in here.
Yeah, I have a couple of people in the waiting room. So, all right. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Sorry, Smith. See ya.
See ya. Kai, what's going on, man?
Have a couple of people. Hey, brother, what's going on, Zach?
What's going on?
Hey, man, first of all, I'm so happy to be on the show. I'm literally just watching this. You talk to the other guys, and I guess I might be a little behind, but
yeah, there's like a 20-second delay or so.
Oh, that makes sense. Sense. Because it was like, all right, I'm gonna let you get somebody on, and I was like, oh wait, computer. Hold on, let me go ahead and mute my background noise. I don't know if you're watching, but this Eagles-Ravens game, bro, is crazy right now.
I got it on TV right in front of me. Yeah.
I think honestly, I didn't like that play call for the 2-point conversion. I don't know if you saw it. It was like a little RPO. The same bull crap that Ben wanted to run in the first quarter. I don't know if you were watching that either. That really pissed me off, man. Whew.
That's what you're talking about. It's hard to when you win by 31 points, you're just kind of nitpicking when you're talking about things that you didn't like about the game. And yeah, he obviously started out 2 for 8 because those quick slants on the RPOs, they just weren't working. At first one, he was lucky to get away without throwing an interception.
Right. Absolutely.
But okay, so they win by 31 points, 38-7. What'd you like about the game most? And obviously, I would ask what you disliked the most, but I think the common answer there is going to be the Devin Bush injury.
Oh, definitely the Devin Bush injury. And I was actually listening to your show, and I agree. I did see him. He did walk off the field, so that's a good sign. They didn't bring the card. If they brought the card over, and I actually saw, I don't know if you saw, but Ryan Shazier actually tweeted about it because, about his whole injury and everything like that. But it was good news that he walked off. What I liked, that defense, bro. The defense is back. I know all the ESPN professionals, all the little Twitter finger analysis talk about how, the Steelers are 4-0. They didn't play nobody. That defense is suspect. They almost lost to the Eagles. Well, hell, so did the Ravens. So, the defense definitely stepped up. Defense, I think, is back. That's my biggest thing. Minka, I know he's hearing all this talk about all the secondary. Minka wasn't worth that first-round pick. First drive of the game, bro, 33 yards to the house.
That's the thing that's been tough to explain to casual fans is that, obviously I mentioned it when those guys were on too. There's been some tackling issues when it comes to Minka Fitzpatrick. However, the guy's been elite still in coverage. He's taking away whatever part of the field that he's on, which is what they're asking him to do. I wish that they would be a little bit more versatile with his usage, but for what they're asking him to do, he's doing it perfectly. There just wasn't the same splash as last year. And now we get that play today. Hopefully that translates to more of those moving forward. But it's not that much different from Minka Fitzpatrick that we saw last year, other than just, a few lucky bounces going his way.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to point out, too, because, I read a lot of, these little casual Twitter fans call them. Everybody's calling for Steven Nelson's head, Terrell Edmonds' head. Their name was not called once this game. And I learned at a very young age, that's a good thing. If you're a DB and your name's not called, that means you're doing something right because they're shying away from you. Now, granted, that has a lot to do with our front seven, but at the end of the day, they did they did their job. I don't even know how many yards OBJ or Landry had put up or whatever. And honestly, it's irrelevant because at the end of the day, they only scored 6 or 7. I'm sorry.
Yeah, those two guys combined for 5 receptions for 65 yards.
There you go. Boom. Lockdown. Joe Hayden's too old. Oh, so many questions about this secondary. Nelson, blah, blah, blah. Now we see why the Chiefs don't like him. And I'm in love with this win because I feel like we shut up a lot of people. I can't wait to watch ESPN, especially Stephen A. Smith, to see what the heck he's gonna say. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they didn't play nobody, whatever. Not worried about it.
You know what? Yeah, I'm kind of torn on what I wanted to happen with that Texans-Titans game, because it is cool that now we're gonna have 5-0 versus 5-0 next week.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, like, it would have been cool for a week to say that we were the only undefeated team in the AFC. So it was a win-win either way.
Oh no, it's gonna be a dogfight next week. I can't wait. So I'm glad they won. Especially with Derrick Henry. You look at how we shut out Saquon Barkley week 1, 6 yards, and now we're going up against Derrick Henry, number 1 rush defense in the league. So it's gonna be. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put it past if they flex that game to Sunday night or even Monday or something like that, because it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what announced team we get as well. That's what I'm looking forward to, because Nance and Roma said that they already know they have the 2 Steelers games the following week, because they got the Baltimore game and they got the Dallas game. I mean, but yeah, this Tennessee game next week, I mean, we can kind of preview that a little bit. Again, very similar to Cleveland. They want to run the ball first and foremost. They want to set up everything through that. So again, if the Steelers are able to do exactly what they did today and shut down that run game. Now,
Absolutely.
Granted, as I said with those guys, I like Ryan Tannehill a little bit more than Baker Mayfield.
Sure.
If he has to throw the ball. But, at the same time, and I also like A.J. Brown. They have some decent weapons. They don't have the weapons that Baker Mayfield does in Cleveland in Tennessee. So, I mean, it's going to be, like you said, a dogfight. If they can win in the trenches, though, and our offense just does exactly what they did this week. I mean, they weren't asking too much of Ben. He only had to complete 14 passes, but James Conner has his third 100-yard rushing game. I mean, I like our chances again.
Hey, that's another good point. Speaking of James Conner, I want to bring that up. All this talk about bringing back Le'Veon Bell, and I think I was probably one of the only Steeler fans who was like, I don't want Bell back. We're fine with Conner. And I think Conner hurt a lot of Steelers fans that wanted Bell back, and I think he shut them up. I mean, if you look, he's got 3 100-yard rushing games, and every time he goes over 100 yards, he scores. So,
you know what? The thing with him is, I mean, he's productive when he's healthy, and I think that everybody knows that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why his name, he's always being called for. His job's kind of like, not in terms of like the way that the organization looks at it, but from a fan base perspective, they are always putting his job on the line. Before the season, when Leonard Fournette gets cut, we're calling for Leonard Fournette to come into Pittsburgh because James Conner can't stay healthy. Le'Veon gets released. Let's sign Le'Veon because James Conner can't stay healthy. This was a statement game from him. I mean, even look beyond the box score, just watching him run, he looked pissed off.
Yeah, he did. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even after he got first downs, I don't even remember him celebrating. He just kind of threw the ball down and got back in the huddle like, let's do it again. And I mean, that's Steelers football. If you look, across our years, the past, 2 decades, that's pure Steelers football. And I mean, I don't know what Steelers fans, I don't know what else they want from him.
Yeah, I guess just stay healthy. But this year he's not fumbling the ball. I mean, everything's good so far when it comes to James Conner. I like what I'm seeing. Just keep it rolling.
Absolutely. So yeah, 2 more things I just wanted to talk to you about. And I was listening to your show earlier and I mentioned it. Our punting team, man, Dustin Colquitt, what is going on? I mean, I'm not one of those Steelers fans who every time there's somebody available, hey, let's go sign this guy. But I mean, I'm pretty sure Marquette King is available. And I know he's got a leg on him. Yeah, his antics might be a little but that kid's got a leg. So
and he wants to play. I mean, he wants to get back into the league, play for the minimum, and donate that money. Like, he doesn't even want to make money this year.
Exactly.
He just wants to show that he can still punt with the elites in the game. And there were so many people calling for Jordan Berry's head, and I get it. I think that it was time to move on. But sure. I think what people fail to realize is they could do worse, and they've somehow done it by bringing in Dustin Colquitt. I mean, there's a reason he was great in his time in Kansas City. I mean, there's a reason he spent 15 years in that organization, but it was time for them to move on, and he's done. I mean, he has nothing left in that leg.
They're picking up scraps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then the second but last thing I was listening about was Robert Spillane. That guy can lay the wood. I've never actually seen him play, only in preseason games, but I don't know how athletic he is, whatever, but he can tackle. If he's going to play next week against Derrick Henry, I feel from what I saw from the little glimpse today, I have a little bit of confidence about him going up against Derrick Henry next week. Because that kid can lay the wood. I mean, same with Vince Williams, but everybody knows about Vince, so.
we know how the Steelers operate when it comes to those guys. You know, you got to get your feet wet on special teams, and they mold special teams studs. And Robert Spillane is one of those guys, you know, along with like
Absolutely.
the Jordan Dangerfields of the
Yep.
world, you know, and Robert Golden, who we saw for a long time as Steelers like to make a
Yep.
career out of playing on special teams. Robert Spillane is like that type of guy, almost like going back to like last year, what they had like a Tyler Medikevich, who they
Yep.
felt like they could call on in a pinch. Yeah, I just question the athleticism at the position, but they obviously,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yep.
that's where it comes down to coaching. They got to put him in the right position to succeed. And when you look at like the way that the game script could be against the Tennessee Titans, a team that runs first, I think that's probably very favorable to what he brings to the table. So, you know, at least for next week, I would feel comfortable about him in that spot. Again, I just question, you know, going forward when if you would have to ask him to play a little bit in coverage against a tight end or covering a running back out of the backfield, what he could give you there. But again, it comes down more so to not him as a player, but the coaching staff just putting him in the right positions to succeed.
To succeed, absolutely. I agree. I think they're going to use inside linebacker kind of rotation. I think Marcus Allen, I'm sorry, he's going to get some time down in there. I think they're going to activate, you know, Gilbert. He'll get some time in there, and they'll just, you know.
Perfect time because he's coming on the show this week.
Absolutely. Oh, awesome. Heck yeah.
Hey, Ulysses Gilbert's joining the show on Thursday. So
Heck yeah.
we'll definitely talk about it then with him.
Sweet. I know he's probably excited. He's looking at his child at home right now. I mean, it's, you know, it's one of those situations where it's like, you know, you never want to see a player get hurt, but if you're called upon and you know, you need to step up, you know, that's always been Mike Tomlin's, you know, get at is next man up. So
Right.
it's time to get up.
Absolutely.
But heck yeah, man. Other than that, you know, great team win. Ben doing Ben things, and that's it.
Couldn't agree more. Hope it just keeps rolling and they start to get some more national attention for what's going on in Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, man. I can't wait to watch ESPN tomorrow morning, especially those.
It's going to be a great victory Monday.
I'm sorry?
I said it's going to be a great victory Monday.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, brother. I don't want to hold you up. I want to let you get somebody else on or whatever. And
yeah, for sure. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining. This is something.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, this is something I think that we're going to try to do after most games. So, you know, if it's something that if you want to be involved in, just hit me up next time it's going on and we'll get you back in here to talk some more.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right, man. Take care.
All right. You too, man.
All right. I'll bring in Matt real quick and then I got Gareth and then I think that will do it. Matt, I believe you're in here. What's going on? Hello? Matt, can you hear me? There he is. Can you hear me? Can't hear you right now.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much really. I think the biggest thing that I really liked from this game, obviously, is the fact that we won. But at the same time, I think the biggest problem for me personally is the fact that I didn't get to watch a single bit of it.
Oh,
Because in my area, I live in New York State, but I live pretty close to the Pennsylvania border. But we had we looked at the schedule for the TV show or for the time slot on the TV, and it's like 1 o'clock. It says Steelers and Browns, and I'm like, oh wow, we're actually going to be on TV for once in our area. You know, we're never usually on TV unless we're playing one of the New York teams, or if it's like the primetime slot.
right.
So I had to listen to it on the Steelers app on the radio again, which, I mean, I love listening to Wolf and Tunch and everybody, but at the same time, there's no real, like there's nothing like seeing it on TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not a radio guy for sports, to be honest. It's like it's a desperation thing, like last resort, honestly. Like if I have to, I'll do it, but
Right.
I will 100% 7 days out of 7 rather watch it than listen to it.
Yeah. So
But no, so you don't. I mean, do you have like? Could you have like Sunday ticket, or would it be blacked out?
we don't have Sunday ticket. Like, I've been talking to my dad about it, and we're like,
Mhm.
and he's like, well, I don't know if we want to do it necessarily, yada yada yada. And my mom and I are trying to convince him. It's like, look, we paid for like NBA League Pass so we could watch out of market games for different teams and stuff, because like for basketball, we don't have like a favorite team. We just have favorite players and stuff that we like to watch. Mainly, like, I like LeBron. He's my guy for basketball. And so, like, when he was either, Cavs, Heat, or Lakers, it doesn't matter which team, like, we couldn't watch those games. And so he was like, well, you know what? Let's spend the money and watch NBA League Pass. I'm like, okay. So I don't know why we haven't done NFL ticket yet. I think maybe next year we'll try and do that. But for right now, we just gotta have to listening to it on the radio, and I also get the play-by-play on Twitter from like you guys and the
Right.
Steelers Twitter, and just everybody that I follow who is a Steelers fan and stuff. Everybody's giving their takes and stuff like that. I'm just like, oh my god, my heart can't take this.
Yeah. Yeah, the live tweeting, it definitely helps too. As you mentioned, I mean, we try to tweet out like the big plays as much as we can for that reason. You never know if there's people that are Steeler fans that are able to be by their phone but aren't able to watch or listen to the game, whatever it might be. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a big part of it. But like, what about? Have you ever looked into like the websites you can stream games and stuff?
I've tried to mainly look at it on like YouTube and stuff like that. See if anybody has it on maybe YouTube or something, and then try and Chromecast it to my TV. That way I could watch it on my TV in my living room and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I haven't found any real success like that. So that's like the biggest thing, is trying to find somebody who has it. And sometimes like they'll have it and it's like the sound is either like just completely garbled, it's not very clear, or it's like far behind the actual action, like what's going on and stuff.
Mhm.
It's not synced correctly. So there's just different problems
Yeah.
in different
I
areas.
I found a couple. I'll have to shoot you a DM after we wrap up here because I found a couple different ones that I've had to use, not necessarily for football, but I know that people do use. I've used them for like NHL games in the past. So
Mhm.
I'll shoot you a DM after this if you want to check it out and see if you have any luck with those.
All
But
right.
yeah, as far as the team goes, I mean, what are you liking about what you see so far? I mean, 5-0, there can't be much that you dislike.
Yeah, seriously. Obviously my guy Chase frickin' Claypool, man. I love the dude. I recently went onto his personal website that he has with all the merch and stuff, and
Right? Yeah.
I bought a hoodie. And like, I don't care if he doesn't like Mapletron. I think like Mapletron, it's catchy, it's cool, and I've seen people like Tunch and Wolford talking about him, and they're calling him Mapletron, and everybody's calling him Mapletron. It's like, bro, I don't understand like why you wouldn't like a cool nickname that's so catchy, and you already come up with great merch, but you can continue to come up with more and more great merch and everything like that. So
Yeah, it's very marketable, if he's looking for that side of it. And obviously he is. I mean, he's kind of following the same thing like, Juju obviously trying to get like grow his brand, everything that he does outside of football with all the endorsement stuff. If Chase like really embraces this Mapletron thing, the opportunities for him outside of football are going to be absolutely massive.
yeah, and I really want to know his thoughts about like why he doesn't like Mapletron so much. I mean, that's the big question.
Yeah, probably trying to get away from. I mean, as great of a player as and as humbling as a comparison to Calvin Johnson is, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
probably due to that, just not being like wanting to be compared side by side with anybody. Just people to respect him as his own person. So
Yeah, that's understandable, I guess. But as far as other things I like about the team, I really love the fact that Ben's, staying healthy so far. Knock on wood and pray to God. But I feel like we would have been this good last year had Ben not gotten injured, in my personal opinion.
yeah, I mean, imagine the offense with the defense that we had
Yeah.
last year. Now, obviously, last year you wouldn't have had Chase Claypool's infusion into the team. However, just everything else about the offense, because he felt like Deontay Johnson, who needs to get healthy, and hopefully he can kind of pull a 180 on what his season's been so far this
Yeah.
year. But I mean, last year, I feel like the offense with average quarterback play would have definitely been good enough. With the defense that we had, they would have been easily been a playoff team. But I think that they could have definitely been in the second round of the playoffs at least. I mean, yeah, it's night and day difference with Ben under center. Even if he's an average quarterback, as I've talked about on the show, just like his mind and what he does at the line of scrimmage to put guys in the right places. I mean, it's night and day compared to the offense last year.
I will say, I'm happy the Ben's back, but at the same time, if we had Ben all season long, do you think that we would have made the trade with the Dolphins for Minka Fitzpatrick?
That's an interesting question. I mean, that we've done. I feel like that's been we've talked about that before, and I don't know because Sean Davis is obviously like he got hurt. He came back. He missed the first game of the season. Came back in week 2, got hurt that game against Seattle, and then the very next day we made the trade for Minka. Like Sean Davis got hurt in that same game that Ben did. So I really don't know. Like, I mean, was the Minka thing like a splash just to say, even though Ben went down, we're not giving up? Or was it because they needed something at the safety position and knew that Miami was getting rid of this guy? Like, probably a little bit of both. I don't think that, I mean, we're never going to know the answer on that. I still think that they do. Now, the question is, are they desperate enough to give up a first round pick to do so? I definitely think they kick the tires on bringing Minka in.
Yeah.
But does it get to the point where if Miami asks for a first round pick, they don't budge on it if Ben's healthy?
I think that they would throw in a first because I know that if they were going to draft anybody, nobody in the draft at the safety position, I think, would have been better than Minka. And that's what I've heard from just about everybody that I talked to. So it's like, well, Minka's really good and everything. Is he worth a first round pick? It's like, well, let's look at the choices that you have in terms of like, safety position, who's coming out of college, and also you have to take into consideration, where would that first round pick have been considering, let's say we actually finished still going 8-8 and missing the playoffs. How high up on the board would our first round pick actually be?
Right. Yeah. And they ended up giving pick number 18 to Miami. So that's where it fell. But to your point about, getting a player, obviously you weren't, I mean, Minka ended up being an all pro here, but you didn't know that right away. So it was, as long as we don't pick in like the top 10, top 5, I mean, you feel like the trade was going to be justified.
Right.
And even the name that Tyler and I, my co-host on here, kept throwing out was, Grant Delpit, because he started last year college football's #1 safety. He ends up falling to the second round, goes to Cleveland, tears his ACL, and now he's out this whole season anyway. So, I mean, you just never know. The draft, it's obviously not as much of a crapshoot as like the MLB draft or anything like that, but there's still, nothing's guaranteed when it comes to the NFL draft. What you were getting in Minka Fitzpatrick was, an already established NFL player that was pretty good. It obviously became even better after the trade.
Right. Now, another thing that has been bothering me is the fact that, God forbid, but, let's say that Ben, after this injury, decided to call it quits. I was thinking that if Ben had said, I'm done, and everybody was looking at free agent quarterbacks at the time and things like that, I was thinking that possibly we would have gotten somebody like Cam Newton. That's like our big thing that, we were thinking about. Hold on a second. I'm doing something. I'm busy. I'm sorry. In the meantime, like I was thinking that, Cam would be a good idea at quarterback for us. Maybe not necessarily, long term, but I guess kind of like a short, long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Cam was a guy that like I was interested in to a degree. I mean, obviously not. I don't think the organization was to be a backup, because we never really know how was Ben going to come off this injury. I mean, that was a question mark coming into the season. So I would have felt completely fine if they would have brought him in as a backup. Now, if Ben was gone, absolutely, I think that they would have needed to look, for some quarterback help, even if, they believed in Mason Rudolph and got him a quarterback coach for the first time. And, I do think that it's fair to say, he would have progressed from year 2 to year 3, having a quarterback coach and just one more year in the system. That's not a guarantee either. Like, I think that you would have needed to bring in Cam for at least competition. And I say competition because it probably would have been a very similar situation to what we saw in New England where, Cam was coming in for competition with Jarrett Stidham when everyone knew when he signed there, he was the starter.
Oh yeah. Everybody knew. I mean, I don't think that Stidham's going to be everything that everybody is hyping him up to be. But then again, we don't know that because he doesn't play. Only people in New England who watch him at practice on scout teams and things of that nature, only those people know. But then again, we're not here to talk about them. We don't care about them. We only care about our team. We only care about our team and who we're playing and stuff like that. So my big thing is I saw the Titans won again.
Yeah.
And I know that we're going to be playing them next week. And I'm feeling a little nervous, a little bit more so against them compared to the Browns, because I'm like, Ben, he's got experience against the Browns. We're at home. This is going to be a road game, and they're really good. And apparently they were saying on Twitter and on Bleacher Report, like, oh, Tannehill's just on fire. And then we all know what Derrick Henry can do. I mean, Josh Norman, rest in peace, obviously. But, it's a little nerve-wracking, but I'm thinking back to week 1 where it's like, okay, well, you have another good rusher in Saquon Barkley. Can we stop the run against them? And it's like, we did. He only had like 2 rushing yards for the entire game. So I'm more worried about Derrick Henry and being able to stop the run against him.
Yeah, I mean, it's easily their biggest test. I mean, it was before this Cleveland game for me. But it's so like when you talk about the nerves, it's good nerves though. This is what you play for. Like 5-0 versus 5-0. Like I'm already looking forward to it. I wish we could just fast forward to next Sunday and start this game. But I mean, you talked about the way that like Tennessee is built. They go through the run, and I've said this with a couple other people that were on here so far. They need to establish that run to set up the play action pass. And that's how they're the most successful. Like Ryan Tannehill is very good. He's very good at what he does. But if Tennessee wasn't so good running the ball, how good would Ryan Tannehill be? And that's what we want to find out next week. Shut down the run and make him become a pocket passer, as we did with Baker Mayfield this week. And let's find out. Let this defense get after Ryan Tannehill, shut down the run, and make him beat us with his arm. Because if he does, if he goes out there and throws for 300 yards and beats us with his arm, you tip the cap and say GG. But I mean, if we can shut down the run and make them play the way that we want them to play, again, I like our chances just as much as I like this week. Now, I didn't see this week being a 31-point win, but I like the Steelers being able to find their recipe for success and control this game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was kind of expecting this to be more of like a slugfest personally. Like I thought we were going to kind of like trade blows, especially because I was thinking that, OBJ and stuff like that just going to go off. Although I did say when I was at the local mall yesterday, I was talking to this guy who was working at Champ Sports, and he's sadly a New York Giants fan, because New York State, everybody's
right.
a Giants fan, Jets, whatever. And now he's kind of being a bandwagon, and he's become a Seahawks fan for the rest of the season just because, I don't know why. I think
they're undefeated too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's because they're undefeated, and he likes their neon green jerseys that are just god awful.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. But, and we were talking about it for at least a good 5-10 minutes in the store. And he's like, he was saying, I'm worried about the Steelers against the Browns, yada, yada, because I think that Baker's going to have a good game. And I told him, I'm not worried about Baker. I feel like we're going to get after him, which we did. And then he's like, well, you still got OBJ to worry about. I'm like, no, we're going to clamp him. And he's like, who's going to clamp him? And I'm like, Joe fucking and he's like, oh damn, you right. And he's like, well, are they going to line up Hayden on him? I'm like, yes we are, and I feel like we should, especially because whenever the Steelers play the Browns, Hayden has that chip on his shoulder, but it's like enlarged to an even greater scale. He always has to ball out against him and say, you gave up on me and I'm going to make you pay for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just one of my favorite things when Joe Hayden plays so well against the Browns. Every time he does, it's like, yeah, I'm still a Pro Bowler. I still got plenty of juice left in the tank. And the fact that you didn't see that in me and you let me go to the Steelers, to win a championship, because I feel confident in us. I feel like we probably could actually do it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You got what you want on both sides of the football. Again, we'll see about Devin Bush's injury, because when you talk about depth at certain positions, you have it at a lot of positions. Linebacker is one of those spots that's kind of questionable, but Robert Spillane, like what you see in the first game, at least where he has to play, we'll see how that situation plays out. But yeah, I mean, you feel like they got the horses on both sides of the football. And they were talking about today, Nance and Romo, they, with what they have on both sides, you could look at it as almost, this is a very similar team to '08. I don't want to stack, this defense up with the '08 defense, because they're two completely different years, and that's not fair to either year. But, just we talk about the way that the team is constructed.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
It is. It's kind of eerily similar, just like how closely, when you look at these guys, like both defenses are really good. They both got similar guys, obviously not the exact same guys, but, guys that can do a lot of the same things. And I'm just like, we're 5-0 right now. It's the second time in history for the team, dating back to, I think they said like 1978 was the very first time and the only time up until now. And I'm like, all this positive energy, all this, positive trends that have been going on with the team and stuff, obviously other than injuries. But I just think that, we're trending in the upward direction. And like you said before, depth is definitely something that we have to make sure that we have plenty of. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, Matt, I do have one more person I got to get in here, but if you had anything else real quick that you wanted to talk about, shoot.
Honestly, not really. I just, I've never actually done this kind of thing before. I will say I love all this. I love all the stuff you got in the background on the wall and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I randomly just took a picture off the Steelers Facebook page and I use that as the Zoom background. But I actually have some autographed Steelers jerseys of my own. Like I'm sitting on my bed right now, and let me see. Like I'm just gonna try and point with my hand, but it's like right over there. It's a autographed Ryan Shazier jersey that I actually won at a raffle at Steelers fantasy camp, and that is probably one of the coolest things that I have. And I'm just very happy that my dad grew up a Steelers fan, and then when I came into this world, he made sure I was wearing black and gold from second one. It's just great being a Steelers fan.
Right. That's always a good decision, man. Well, I appreciate you joining. As I mentioned to the last person that was on, Kai, I think that we are going to do this on a pretty regular basis, if not after every game. Just kind of depends on what my schedule looks like. But we appreciate you joining. We appreciate the support that you've shown the Around the 4-2 brand, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, you too, man. Bye.
All right, I will get Gareth in here real quick, and we will call it a day. There he is, my main man.
How's it going?
I mean, we're 5-0. That's all I got to say. That should answer how I'm doing.
It's I've just been on. Well, like a lot of people coming into this game, we thought it was going to be a difficult game, but then first two quarters, you just knew that it was just going to go easy. I mean, there were a couple of plays. I think the play or two leading up to their touchdown where the players were, way too open. I think they need to look at that next game and just, they need to be covering. They need to have that man-to-man coverage because, it's just, you look at it and how open he was, you just think, how no one could have seen him.
How do you? They rushed three and dropped 8 in coverage, and yet still had that entire part of the field open. So again, as I mentioned to a couple other guys, like when you're complaining about something, when you win by 31 points, you're like really nitpicking. But yeah, that's definitely something that, and especially like when you look at the third down defense in general, which has been an issue coming into this game. That got cleaned up a little bit in this game, but you just, there are still some things that you'd like to see cleaned up on the back end and the secondary. But overall, a much better performance from this defense, finally starting to look like the 2019 version of this defense. So that's great. Again, I've mentioned to everybody on here, and it is the big storyline because that game, as you mentioned, after quarter two, kind of comfortably in hand, the Steelers are going to win this one. All the focus shifts from this game to long term because of not knowing what's going on with Devin Bush.
Yeah. I mean, it was really hard to sort of watch him go out, because with our coverage that we have over here on Sky Sports, even though this was the main game on the channel, it's kind of like red zone, where when they go into like a commercial break, they'll go to another game if they're a red zone. So obviously when they came back, the first image I seen was Devin being taken over to the blue tent, but there was no replays either. So obviously I had to go through Twitter and everything just to see what happened, and then obviously you could see his fall, and as he hit his knee, he was clutching it. So I mean, with Tomlin saying it's a significant injury, it's, us as fans, we're saying, well, how significant? How long is he out? Is this season ending? Is it a couple of weeks? I mean, we can't. I'd say we can afford to have him out, but at the same time, for the depth part of it, we can't afford to have him out, because then if his replacement is hurt next week, where do we go? We have to then look at our practice squad, and have we got anyone good enough from the practice squad to bring up to the active roster? That's something that obviously they would have to look at. But yeah, it's definitely a massive blow. And I just hope, as with all fans, we want to have a very speedy recovery.
Right. Yeah. And the big thing is the depth behind him, because you talk about, is he, he doesn't bring the same, he's not Ben. If Ben went down similar to last year, it's like, okay, well, what do we do now? But when you look at certain positions and the depth of the positions, the linebacker was one that people talked about. Like, what is there behind Devin Bush and Vince Williams? And now with Devin Bush going out, that depth is definitely going to be tested. Robert Spillane stepped in today and did a really nice job. And I feel like I just keep regurgitating that same thing. But his ability to do so on a week-to-week basis now is going to be tested. I mean, this is a guy primarily here to play special teams, and now you're putting him in a role where he was, had the green dot on his helmet. He's sitting in there calling plays for the defense, and, so far so good. He's batting 1 for 1 in terms of success doing so. Does he look very good today? But can that continue going forward? And now you ask, what's behind him? Because you got Marcus Allen, who just came off an injury. I think that his role could probably expand. And Ulysses Gilbert, who who only had a helmet for 1 game so far this season, and also is joining the show this Thursday, by the way. Now he'll probably be active next week. And you wonder, we're probably going to see a mix of these guys, because Ulysses and Marcus Allen probably offer more in coverage than Robert Spillane does. But based off what we saw today, obviously, Robert Spillane is a thumper, and he can lay the wood. And I think he's going to do a great job as far as stopping the run from that position. But it's going to be nice to see these guys get an opportunity. You hate to see it come at the expense of Devin Bush, but these guys are going to get an opportunity now. We know they're hungry. Let's see how they answer the bell.
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, I mean, it was just like, as the time went on, it just looked like that we couldn't do anything wrong. There was a couple of calls that went against us, but I mean, compared to how calls have gone against us in the past, this was a breeze compared to how many OPIs have gone against us in the past. I mean, there was neutral zone infraction by TJ Watt, where it was, and so I mean, it just seemed that the game was made for us today. I mean, if there's going to be an even better game than this one today, then bring it on, because like you said, we've got the Titans now, and we've got a hell of a run coming up, obviously, without having our early bye week. So I mean, like you said with your last guest, we've got to stop Henry, because the guy is just a freak. The things that he's doing, I don't know whether it's that hair coming out of the back, whether we got to cut that off like Hercules to stop him being like he is. But that defense has got to be even better than they have been today. There's just no shadow of a doubt about it, because that Henry, like you said, he is just too dangerous. You give him an inch and that'll be it. He'll be in the end zone. So, our defense is just getting better and better. The defense that we have now and what we're adding to it is just getting a hell of a lot better. And I mean, even our offense now, everyone's talking about him, Claypool. Even Washington had a brilliant game today. I think my only disappointment with the game today is I even said to the missus at one point, I was saying, is Juju actually playing?
Mm.
You know, because he was just, you know, I think in the first or the second quarter he had a catch and a bit of a run, but apart from that, you know, we didn't see him. You know,
He
but
had 2 receptions for 6 yards in the game. So
yeah, so I mean, but the good thing with Juju is, you will get, a lot of players, who sort of expect more will send out like a little cryptic tweet on Twitter to, say how unhappy they are, but you won't see that off Juju anyway. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's just that type of player. We know he's wide receiver one, and he'll always be that to us. And I just think he's more happy when like Claypool had a touchdown. He was the first guy there on the sideline, giving him a high five and whatever. So I think he's just that kind of player that we hoped, and I don't like saying this name anymore, we hoped Antonio Brown would have turned out to be.
I think that's the great thing about this receiver room is they celebrate each other's success. They don't care about their own personal success. As long as they're winning, they don't care who is the main beneficiary of it. So, for example, coming into this game, every game, a different receiver led the team in yards. Now, Claypool ended up leading the team in receiving yards today, so that came to an end because he's now led, a couple weeks in a row. But up until like that last Claypool catch, Washington was the leader in receiving yards. So it looked like they were going to have 5-0, 5 different games that a different receiver leads the team in receiving yards. So it's going to be a different guy. That's the thing that's so great about this team is even though, we could call Juju number one, like there's not like a clear out. You don't know who the guy is going to be week in and week out.
No.
Incredibly tough to game plan for because, okay, you want to key in, we could see teams now start to focus more on Chase Claypool, which I've alluded to is probably going to happen. Okay, well, that's just going to open things up now for, when we get Deontay Johnson back, who didn't play today, James Washington, Juju, like Ebron, all these other guys are going to get opportunities. Let the defenses decide who they want to try to eliminate, and it's going to be all the other guys that are going to have huge numbers because of it, and those guys are all fine with it. As long as they're winning, everybody's happy.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you start losing a lot. You look at the teams who are surprising at the minute, like the Texans, and how JJ Watt's how his post game interviews have been going from game one to now. Because I know I think it was last week or the week before, and it was just one worded answers. Do you know what I mean? And it starts to get to that point where at the minute Steelers, we're all on a high because we're constantly winning. All right. Last week or the week before, we didn't win great, but we still won. So, I mean, that's what we still got to look at. But, with a lot of Steelers fans, like again today, I think a lot of fans were worried, because how the Browns have been playing. They were 4-1. Obviously, we're now 5-0, which is amazing. But, when a team comes to Heinz Field with that kind of record, you've got to always have one eye open to say, right, is this going to be their time? They've got to this position by playing how they have. Again, they haven't been winning cleanly, or they haven't been winning, easily. But again, teams have been winning, so you've always got to look. I mean, we've had teams, where they've had an absolute dreadful record. Broncos a few years ago. Everyone, we were all, we've got this. We end up losing. So then that puts you on an even bigger low. So, I mean, even though everyone's on a high at the moment, we've always got to have that in the back of our mind. It may not go our way today. But at the same time, the way, like today, the way we play, I mean, even putting Rudolph in right at the end, that's got to be the biggest middle finger to the Browns Mike Tomlin could have ever given. We just thought, do you know what? We don't need Big Ben anymore. He's done you over. We're just going to put in our secondary, have fun for the last, 6-7 minutes.
No, yeah, I mean, I love seeing that. But I do think that the Browns are an improved team. I think that they do have a legitimate head coach now. And I think that, they're built to succeed in most games. But again, when you're going against the front seven that the Steelers bring to the table, I mean, this game and getting behind early too with Baker Mayfield's pick six, that puts you in a hole because you're in a position where you can't try to establish the run. You have to throw the ball because you're playing from behind. So I think in most weeks, the Browns will be able, like game script will be favorable, that they can play to their strengths. This was just not one of them. And they weren't ready for this game. And obviously, they had some injuries coming in, but their fans are going to make excuses for sure. Those guys can't make excuses, because if it were the opposite way, we know that we would hear the same thing from the Steelers side. So, but no, I mean, again, very little to complain about. You just pray for the best when it comes to Devin Bush. And really, other than that, just hope that things continue to look the way that they did this week.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, what more can we ask for going into what's normally the worst day of the week? Is always the last 5 weeks have been the best day of the week for us all. So yeah, I mean, we can hope that, I mean, the way you got to look at it is if we continue to play like we have today for the rest of the season, we might as well, they might as well already carve our name on the Super Bowl, because I don't think, no matter what team you got, and I mean, like you said, the Titans are going to be, I think the Titans are going to be the biggest test out of everyone that we've got throughout the season. The team that they have. If we go past the Titans with the performance that we have today, no matter whether we win by 1 point or whether we win by 50 points, if we can get past the Titans, like you said, stop the running game, who's to say that we can't go all the way? Because I just think, like you said, who we've got left, the Titans right now are our biggest threat. So if we can get past them, we'll be going all the way, no shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I think that the interesting part is normally we see the Steelers kind of slow out of the gates. And I think that was even more so expected this year because of Ben coming off the injury, but that hasn't been the case. Again, it's kind of a new look, Ben. He's not doing it the exact same way, but the way that he's modified his game for this offense to still succeed, I think he deserves a ton of praise for that. And then when it comes to the defense, I don't think that before today, we hadn't seen the best of what this defense has to offer. Now, hopefully we get more performances like today. But the way that the fact they were 4-0, and granted, you can say whatever you want about the level of competition they had played in those first 4 games. In most years in the past, they lose at least 1 or 2 of those. No doubt in my mind. There's just a different feel to this team. The fact that Ben's coming off this injury, playing the way he is, the fact that you feel like the defense might be finding their stride, the key is going to be health.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he took a couple of big hits from what I've seen going down as well on each arm. And, you always freeze and just look at him as he's getting up. And, maybe, if he didn't get injured the year before and he played all of last year, would that have set it off so he wouldn't have been here, this year again. So, I mean, it looks like, whatever he's done in the off season to get as healthy as he's got is really working. I mean, he said in the off season as well, coming up to this season, he's always been in a bit of a pain sort of throughout his body and everything, and I mean, he's saying now that he's not in any pain at all. So I mean, if he can stay like he is and play like he's playing, we've got a good couple of years left before he obviously hangs it up. But I mean, for once in a couple of seasons, like I said, we go in 5-0 for the first time since the 70s. We're playing good. We've definitely drafted good yet again with obviously the players that we've got in. But yeah, I mean, the Browns are the Browns leading up to the game anyway. The whole stepping on a terrible towel, all this trying to rile everybody up, and then when it comes to the game and they get beat, then it all comes back on. And you see all the deleted tweets and everything. So I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't complain. The little nitpicks, like I said, that led to their touchdown and things like that. But I mean, apart from that, if that wasn't in the game, you'd have nothing to complain about anyway. So it's at the moment, it's brilliant being a Steelers fan as always.
Yeah, I will say I just looked on Twitter, and Devin Bush is out for the season.
Oh.
So that definitely puts, again, a little bit of a damper on the way things have gone. Being 5-0 is great. Being 5-0 with Devin Bush healthy would be even better.
Yeah.
Again, this is where the depth of this team is going to be tested. And it's not just going to be Robert Spillane himself doing what Devin Bush does. I mean, you can't, he himself is not going to be able to replicate what Devin Bush brings to the table. So
No.
you're going to be calling on, other guys to do so. I don't know if they'll look outside of the organization to try to bring in somebody. We'll see, but we know with the way that the Steelers operate, they believe in the guys that they have in house for the most part. If you're on the roster, they think that you can get the job done. So I would lean towards no, at least to start. To probably roll with what they have. But I mean, this is a huge blow to the middle of that defense.
Well, that is that sucks now you're in there. That's really getting because he had a really good season last year, and we all just knew that he was going to carry on as he did last year. But that's a really big blow to everyone. But like you said, I think they'll look at the practice squad now to bring people up, and then if they're not performing, then I guess that, like you said, they start looking outside trade, or because I know we haven't got the cap space salary wise. So I mean that's always going to be a big issue when you're trying to bring somebody in as well. But prayers up definitely for Devin Bush.
Yeah, and I mean, you try to look at everything with a little bit of a silver lining. I mean, it gives them something else to play for now. The guys on the team to play for Devin Bush and give them a little bit more motivation. And now, the Devin Bush comeback tour begins for next season. So, sucks to see. I mean, they're a better team, obviously, when he's out there. But, you still believe in the defense can get the job done, and the coaches will put guys in the right place to succeed, even without Devin Bush. But man, that is a huge hit from obviously a football standpoint, but even more than that, just a personal standpoint to lose a guy like that, your signal caller on defense, and a guy that's just embraced Pittsburgh since having his name called at last year's draft. So sucks to see.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. But like I said, let's just hope he'll still be around the team, which is good. They'll motivate him, make sure he doesn't get down or anything. They'll keep his hopes up, and they'll help him as much as they can, like they did with Ben as well. So they've got he's good that he's got a great coach in Tomlin anyway. Because if one thing, people do have their criticisms about Tomlin, but he knows how to put his arm around you and tell you he's going to be all right. So he's in good hands, definitely.
And as we saw last year, definitely knows how to get the most out of guys and help them overachieve. So we'll see what he's able to squeeze out of the likes of Robert Spillane and Marcus Allen and Ulysses Gilbert to try to replace Devin Bush as best as you can. Will be interesting to see, but I don't know, man. Yeah, that kind of puts a little bit of a damper going into this Victory Monday, but still got to enjoy it, and they aren't going to make any excuses. They got to get ready for Tennessee.
Definitely. But like I said, we can all just rally behind Devin now and just help him get through as much as possible.
Right. All right, man. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up the post-game show with that. I appreciate you joining, of course, as always. Of course, I appreciate all the support that you've had for Around the 412 since joining the community. I know that you have. So I saw there were some fans talking about you in the YouTube. My co-host Tyler was saying, "Tell Gareth I said what's up." So,
hi Tyler.
Yeah, ever since that contest that we ran, where you got involved and made a huge push to win it. Ever since then, you've become a big part of the community, and we can't express how much we appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here, but like I said to you, with everything going on, I reckon, I'm pushing to be there next year, one way or another. I've got to be there because, I've only seen the Steelers live once in Wembley in 2013. But it's going to be, Ben's got, like you said, 2 years, possibly 3 left in him. I at least want to see him at Heinz Field once. That's my dream. So
2013 at Wembley, was that against the Vikings?
Yeah, that was against the Vikings.
That was Le'Veon's debut, I believe.
Yeah, it was Bell's debut, but it was also the game that Adrian Peterson was kind of like Derrick Henry that day and absolutely annihilated us on the run game. So not the best game to go to, but I still got to see it. But yeah, it was Bell's debut. He scored the somersault touchdown
Mhm.
close to the end. But yeah, it was one to forget, but obviously it was definitely one to remember as well. But yeah, like I've said to you and to everyone when I was, throughout that contest and everything, it's always been a dream of mine for 20 plus years to get to Heinz Field, and I've always said like 2021 is I reckon is going to be the year that I go, because I'd love to see Ben play at Heinz Field and obviously the team and everything like that, and just experience the whole. By that time, hopefully everything will be back to normal, and I can experience the full experience of a game at Heinz Field. Tailgating, everything, just one time. So I mean, I still plan on meeting you all next year without a shadow of a doubt.
Man, yeah, I hope so. I hope that it all works out and hope that you're able to get here. I know, I mean, we've been talking, back and forth through DMs and stuff. I'm trying to do, what I can to make it happen. So definitely hope that we can get you to Heinz Field in 2021. But we still got a lot of 2020 left. Maybe we can, maybe we'll have a new Super Bowl banner there by the time that you come. So
yeah, without a doubt, definitely.
All right, Gareth, I appreciate you joining, man. As I said to the other guys that were on here, this is something I plan to do pretty regularly, if not every week. It's just going to depend on what I got going on after the game. But appreciate you joining this time, and I hope to see you back in here in one of the following weeks.
No problem. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Take care.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Yep. All right, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up with that. The Steelers 5-0 going on to play the 5-0 Tennessee Titans next week. Obviously, the big news that puts a little bit of a damper on it, Devin Bush being out for the season with a torn ACL. That really does suck. There's no other word for it. It's going to be interesting to see how they try to replace him as best as they can. I have a lot of faith in what this team still can do, sans Devin Bush, but I would really love for him to be a part of it. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning into this. It was a lot of fun. I'll probably be back again to do this next week, but stay on the lookout. I'll obviously be tweeting updates as far as if it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, all that good stuff. So this has been the Around the 412 Steelers postgame show presented by Crowworthy, sponsored by Keats Barbershop and Manscaped. Until next week, if this is the only thing that you watch, or be sure to tune into the podcast more than anything. But I will see